Welcome to From Ladder to Legacy, the podcast where ambition meets purpose. Here we go beyond the climb, because success isn't just about reaching the top. It's about building something that lasts. Whether you're leading a team, growing a business, or crafting your life's mission, this is your space to reflect, rise, and redefine what legacy truly means. Let's trade burnout for breakthrough, grind for growth, and position for purpose. This is From Ladder to Legacy.
Hey everybody, this is Rudy Romero from Ladder to Legacy. Today I'm here with Federico Denario, and I always butcher it when I talk to him, but I call him Fedi instead. So Fedi, how you doing today?
You're good, man. Thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure, man. I always meet with him at this group we call NLX. Some of the podcasters that are on here come through, and we always get some time, but we don't get enough time to sit down and talk about your story, the name alone. How'd you get that one, buddy? I love it. Was that one of the parents, or who was that came up with the name? Was it Fedi? Was that a short for Federico? How did that come about?
So basically, my mom, she just wanted it to call me Federico, and that was it. And then grandma stuff, she said that I needed to have a second name. So I'm Federico Matias Denario, which in Argentina, Federico Matias are the two most common names in the whole country. So it was a really annoying thing because at school, it was always another Federico in the classroom. So yeah, quite funny. So normally most
What
most of the
classroom?
people, yeah, in the classroom. So people, they, like I say multiple times, in Argentina we use a lot of nicknames for that same reason. So people, all my friends, they used to call me Kiko. This is from a show, a Mexican show, pretty famous guy. So one of the characters from that show was called Federico, and when her mom used to get really mad at him, she will call him Federico, but his nickname on the show was Kiko. So they will do the opposite with me. They will just like call me Kiko instead of Federico. Um,
So Argentina, that's where you're from originally, or that's where the
yeah,
family's from?
yeah. I was born and raised in Argentina. I lived there for 27 years before I
Oh my
moved to the
gosh.
US. So yeah.
And you're young. So what? How long you been here for then? Or when did you move to the US?
I moved to the US. Let me see. I think I moved here when I was 20. Yeah, I think I moved on my 27th. I moved 2019, December 30 of 2019. I came for New Year's. So I was
Oh my
already
gosh. So you
I
came right
was
before
already,
COVID then.
yeah, before COVID, right before COVID. So
All right. So what made you make the transition? You spent 20 years down in Argentina and then came here. What was the for?
So basically, you start growing up and you see all your friends that you used to be hanging out with and going crazy parties and all that kind of stuff. And they all start growing and they start having children and families, and they move to different cities and all that kind of stuff. So I started that I needed to, start my own journey. And I always wanted it to give myself a shot of, open my own business, or, have my own thing going on. And I have family here in the US, and they always told me, hey, you should come, you need to come. And they insisted for so long. They never wanted it because it wasn't really comfortable to live in Argentina. But when I got to that point that most of my friends, they were doing their own, I was like, okay, fine, I'll just give it a shot right now.
So
And
you just said, "Hey, heck, what the hell? I'll just leave the country and go to a whole new
well, it
country
wasn't.
with all new stuff and just hey, why change
No,
my
no.
shirt? I'll just go out and go find a new
No,
country."
no, no.
I
It
love
was
it,
it was
man.
a pretty long process. So basically, my family here in the US, they started, like, they implanted the seed when I was like 16, 17, like, hey, you need to come to the US. I think you're going to love it, yada, yada. And basically, it took them 10 years to basically help me to take the decision. So a lot of stuff in between, family, personal stuff, some broken hearts of like previous girlfriends and all that kind of stuff that,
Oh
some
gosh, just wait
crush.
till they hear the podcast. You gonna give them any shout outs today? No?
Yeah, I cannot tell any names, like they're very
Good for
famous.
you.
Just
Oh, they're
kidding.
famous.
Nah,
Oh,
nah, just
man.
kidding, just kidding.
I didn't know we had a superstar here. So what was it like growing up in Argentina? So you spent 20 years there. You said, hey, you just said you. I don't think I heard the word playboy or something. I don't know. You were dating these models, or I heard something like that. But
Definitely no. I was the guy just making like always just making jokes and making fun of everyone and just having a great time. So that was my role on my friends group, and I mean it was wonderful. I do not regret at all. I think I did everything that I needed to do in Argentina. Just have a great time, drink as much as possible because in Argentina you don't need a 18 years old ID to start drinking alcohol. So
is there an age or is it just
I
open
mean,
to
it's the
everyone?
same like here, but in Argentina, there's no, I mean, at that time, there wasn't not any control or no as much control. So it was like pretty easy to have access to it. So yeah, I think I did all my crazy stuff in Argentina. I have a lot of fun. And then when I think I was a little bit more mature mentally or like ready to make the move, I did it. And yeah, I ended up here. But I mean, I love it. I mean, food in Argentina, it's just something else. And the culture, everyone is just so flexible and casual and like a friend will just show up 9:30 p.m. in a Wednesday at your home and they're gonna just knock the door and say like, hey, I got a beer, and they're gonna just get inside your house. They're not gonna even ask you. And then you're gonna just start drinking and having some cool chats until like 2 in the morning, and then next day you go to work, with a terrible hangover, and that's just fine. You have a great time. So
So it sounds like Argentina is the place to party. So is it still
yeah.
like that now? And have you
Yeah,
have you gone
still,
back
yeah.
in the last couple of years, or are you not at all?
It's basically the same thing. It's a place where, at least from my perspective, my experience, like everyone just loves to party and have a great time, and they're very relaxed. They work from Monday to Friday, it's just thinking the whole week to get to Friday to go out and party and dance and have a great time and have a drink with friends. You don't need to go crazy and get like stupid drunk, but that was some of my cases because yeah, that's what I was at that time. But that's not the case for everyone. It's just the fact of going out there and spend some quality time with your friends and socialize and chat and let out all those things that happen to you during the week. In terms of like working or family stuff or with your boyfriend, your girlfriend, whatever.
So what were you doing so again, you're a kid. I see a BMX bike behind there. Were you the BMX kind of kid? Is that what
No,
you were doing down there, or
actually, I was a skate, a
and a
skater.
skateboard? I was gonna
Yeah, I
say I
was a
see a
skater
skateboard
boy.
too.
I was a skater boy. I think BMX was my frustrated dream because in Argentina things are well right now it's a little bit different, but at that time, having a BMX it was not affordable, at least for me. My family were not able to buy me a BMX, so I ended up doing a skateboarding because when a skateboard was like $100 and a BMX it was like I don't know like 1,000. Yeah, it was like really
Difference.
really expensive. Parts they were difficult to find because they were produced in the U.S. but not exported, to the Argentina or anything like that. So yeah, it was a really expensive hobby to have at that time. So it was like okay, I'll just go with skateboarding. So that's what I did from my I think it's 16 to 20
Wow.
skateboard
And
party.
is that like was that the cool thing? So again, when I was a kid, we had pagers, we had all the fun stuff, skateboards. Yeah, we did a little skateboarding. I mean, nothing that serious. I wasn't Tony Hawk or anything. Pop shove it in the ollie. I'm a little bit of a bigger boy, so for me, unlike Mister who doesn't eat over here, I joke with him all the time. I said he loves Argentinian food, but he's actually got to eat it. He doesn't like to eat it for some reason. He just likes to look and smell it. But like what was it like growing up? What was like the thing to do? So like was it like playing Game Boys? Was it like Atari? Was
Oh,
it Super
dude,
Nintendo? Like what was it?
just on the street 24/7. Like I'll wake up. I mean, I think it was a little different from my 16 until my 18s. I think that 18 was the age, it was like breaking point for myself because my father passed away. So
No, I'm
it was
sorry to
like
hear
a
that.
big, grow up, dude. Like you're the man of the house. So I needed to get myself out there and start working. I got a job and I needed to finish school. So I started to, see more, get more involved in the real life thing. But I always had a great time. So at that time it was, work in the mornings from 6 a.m. to 2 or 4 p.m. Then I get out, go to school until 8 9 p.m. And then if I had some extra time and my friends that were still skating, I'll go to skate. And then during the weekend, it was like full skating, party at night, skating during the day to like filter all that alcohol. out of your body. But I mean, it's
So what kind of work was it? So you kept talking about work.
yeah.
What kind of work, what was the work?
So at that time, my first job, it was as a landscaper. So I started doing some landscaping for a friend of mine company. And then it was a factory. They were producing some things for the burners for the stoves. That's what they were producing in that factory.
Sounds lit.
Yeah. So basically, one day they were running out of employees. It's like, dude, we need you inside of the factory. And they tried me out in different position of the factory, and I was doing a great job. So they ended up hiring me for part time and then full time, and they saw even more potential in me. And I ended up as a general manager, uh, you know, taking care of a group of over 45 people. Uh, Under me, just being 22 years old, which is now when I think about those things, it was like, oh yeah, I was just doing it, but I don't see myself at that time. I think it was a weird thing. I was just going with the flow and fun at the same time, but quite challenging.
So how was it, doing that job? Was landscaping, was the burner stuff? So, you jump into these jobs, and I'm guessing you've had a few before you left the US.
Yeah.
What was the last one before you left to the US? What were you doing then?
So I was working at another of my friend business. It was a pharmacy chain, pretty significant pharmacy chain. Where I live, I think they have 10 different pharmacies, and yeah, I was just doing customer service and just doing customer service. I guess it's nothing really magical. You're behind the computer, like charging people for medicine, and I don't know, just being helpful. I think all those type of jobs, they were really fun, and all of them they teach me different things. I think from the factory, I learned a lot about production and how important time it is in a factory, because you have certain amount of hours to get to send a certain number of pieces, and how important it is to have enough employees and get organized and project and yeah, doing all the maintenance. And then from the pharmacy, I think I learned how to sell, which it was a huge thing for me. Now that I have my own business, being able to interact with people and be able to communicate and sell and make them go through different offers and offer different things. So it was a really good experience, and also empathy, because you're working at the pharmacy. So basically, every person that comes to you, most likely they're either in pain or they're sick, or they're having a bad day because they're not feeling great. So you need to learn to have a lot of empathy and try to be supportive.
Okay. So you're in a factory, you're working in a pharmacy,
Yeah.
you're having all this fun landscaping. I can imagine it's probably a little bit of hot down there,
Oh
a
yeah.
little bit hotter than it is here.
And cold in winter.
Yeah, that's exciting. At least it's cold in winter, though.
Yeah, really cold.
So you just
I'll say that it's pretty similar to Colorado, the weather.
Okay.
Really
So
cold in
absolutely
winter,
terribly
nice.
cold and
Yeah.
hot.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't miss that anymore. So you decide to make the decision to come to the US.
Yeah.
What was that like for you?
So, like I said, it took me a few years to get to that point, and I think in the last 3 years before I actually made the decision, it was a whole process, because I had my card, I had like certain things that I own in Argentina that I was like, okay, I'm not gonna be using these things anymore. I'm not gonna be back in Argentina for a while, so I started planning to sell all the things, and talk to my boss at that time, giving give them advice. I'm going to be quitting the job so they can find someone else. So it was a whole process, but I'll say it took me like 3 years to basically put everything in place before I left.
Wow, that's a long time.
It was a long time. I mean, I really wanted it to finish school, which I ended up not doing because, yeah, I learned something from one of the teachers. He said something that made a click on my head on how important, how easy it is to be someone just with self-learning. And that kind of like, it was the huge spark for me, saying like, perfect. I never liked school. So I was like, I'm gonna just get books, get an internet, and start learning by myself. And I know it's gonna be hard in some topics and some areas, but it worked for me. And I quit at school and then just decided to start moving to the
So
US.
when did you decide to leave school? When did you figure out that, hey, school's not for me?
I also like 5 months earlier, before I moved. Yeah, 5, 6 months before I moved. So
So you were in college, or you were in community college or high school? Where were you at that point?
So I'll say it was college. Is it college? I mean, we call it the university in Argentina. I don't know how we
Yeah,
call it here.
yeah,
I am assuming
yeah.
it's
That's
college.
college. Yeah.
Yeah, I was in the third year. I literally have 1 year left to finish it and
What
get
was
my
the degree in? What were you getting the degree in? I should say
coding,
that. Coding.
coding and
Okay.
development. Yeah,
So did you know what you, so it sounds like you really knew what you want to do. I mean, you opened up a business obviously that is
yeah, totally.
similar to that. So you knew obviously working in a factory wasn't for you. Working
Yeah.
as a pharmacist technician or, however you want to call it, wasn't for you. You knew what you wanted to do and you went to school for it. You just didn't like school, or it was just the way the university was set up? What were some of the hurdles?
No, I think it was an idea that got planted on my head when I was a kid that you needed to go to school to be someone in life.
Yeah. That
I
sounds
think
like
it,
America.
I think yeah, probably we saw too many American movies in Argentina, which is true. But yeah, I mean, I never liked it. I was good at school, I always had really good qualifications, but I never liked it, didn't enjoy it, so I didn't want it to go to college.
So you knew what you wanted to do, which is awesome. You had a lot of people change their majors. I changed mine after I got my associates into my bachelor's, but you knew what you wanted and you're doing it now. So was that something you always knew you wanted to do? Did you always know you wanted to first open up your own company, and second, you wanted to be in coding, web design, all the development stuff?
I think it was a combination of two things. So I always knew that I wanted it to build stuff. I always wanted to build. I remember being 5, 6 years old and just building brick houses on the patio of my house like nonstop and thinking I want to be an architect. But I was not able to be that person or like go to that career because basically my parents they couldn't afford it. It was like a really expensive career. And like, we live in West Palm Beach. It was kind of like in order to do that career, you needed to live in Miami, and they were not able to afford me living in a like a condo and apartment in Miami plus the career. So at that time, my only option was the only other thing that I found that was kind of like related to building, it was coding. I was like, okay, I'm not gonna be building houses or buildings, but I'm gonna be building apps or websites or anything that needs coding. But then when at the time that I was doing college, I was working at this factory. So when I became a manager in that factory, I felt that where I shine as a person, it is like managing people because I'm really structured and organized and I had vision. So it was like really easy for me to fit in that role. So when I started doing my career in college, I started thinking about, okay, I'm gonna learn this career to learn how to code, but not because I want to be doing coding or building website by myself by my whole life. I want to have the knowledge enough for then in the future be able to carry on with a team of people that is doing those things for me, and I'm the leader. But I want to know the fundamentals and everything that it's involved in it. And I think I I got to the a conclusion just because my process at the factory. So basically, in the factory, I became a manager because I went through all the different machines and I learned all the different processes in the factory, and I knew so well all these processes that I have knowledge enough to be able to run the factory and kind of like guide a group of people. And because also I have the like leadership skills without knowing that I was a leader kind of thing.
Do you
So
think leaders are born, or are they made?
I think probably a little bit of both. I think to be a leader, you need to have a lot of different skills. It's not just the ability of to lead, but also I don't know the ability to be empathetic, the ability of communicating, the ability of I don't know how to improvise and all that kind of stuff. And I think every leader has some of them, and some others they don't, and they need to improve it. And that's something that I try to do all the time. And I think other people they start the process in a different way. They start having some of those skills without being a leader, and then they become leaders.
That's fair. I agree. I think it's situational too. I think some people are just born leaders and they understand the process, but they're also people who are made leaders. I
Yeah,
think the military is a perfect example of
yeah,
how it
agree.
can go either way a lot of times.
Yeah.
So you figure out at in 2019 that you are now finally going to take this leap, leaving the comfortability of 9:30 till 2 o'clock beers and BMX, no BMX dreams in your
No,
future, skateboarding world, and the skater boy life, and you decide, hey, you're going to jump into the U.S. How did you pick the wonderful West Palm Beach area?
the West Palm Beach area. I mean, I didn't pick West Palm Beach. I think well, first of all,
West Palm Beach.
basically, I guess. So basically, just to give a little bit more of context, I came for the first time in the at the to the U.S. in 2016, and I visited Florida and I visited Miami, visited West Palm Beach, Orlando, and all those like cute little places that everyone does basically when they come. And I just fell in love with it. I was like, dude, this is where I want to live. Just I think it's just the fact that we don't have all this greenery and beautiful landscapes that we have here in Florida and Argentina. And I was like, dude, this feels so alive all the time. This is what I want. So as soon as I moved to the US, I moved first to Miami. I lived for a couple of months, and then like you will say, COVID happened. And at that time, I was just working at the small restaurant. And then, when COVID happened, I decided basically one of my cousins that she was living here, she was like, dude, like this thing apparently it's going to go for long. You're going to run out of money. Come to my house. I'll buck you up. Let's just come stay. Don't worry about food, rent, or anything. You can stay here until whatever is going on pass by. And that's how I moved to West Palm Beach. So that I'll say that it was not a decision that I fully made on my own. It was something that just happened to
Yeah,
happen.
so COVID kind of forced you
Yeah.
into West Palm. So without COVID, you would still be in Miami living the Argentinian playboy lifestyle, maybe.
Yeah. I'm being like crazy and probably not even speaking any English. So
So did you know English before you came to the States or no?
not at all. The only thing that I knew
Really?
how to say was like, hello, how are you? That's it. So
That's awesome. Well, so within 4 or 5 years, you've mastered the language, my friend.
well, thank you so much. I think I need to give all the credit to my lovely wife. I mean, she's Native American and she didn't speak any Spanish at that time, and I think he clearly love the love language it was there because it was like so difficult to communicate, but we always understood each other.
I am so interested. So you guys
Yeah.
did not speak a lick of English or a lick
No,
of Spanish. This was 100%. You saw her and that was it. It
yeah,
didn't matter.
no.
No hablo inglés, and you just did not care. It was going to happen.
I didn't care. She didn't care either because I mean, like I said, she for the I'm not gonna lie to you. For the first 8 months, it was all on her. So she will communicate something to me, and then I'll try to do my best to communicate myself, and she will have to interpret what I was trying to say, put it into words, and then just repeat it, and then I'll say like, "Oh yes, that's what I'm trying to say." So conversations will. I mean, the good thing is that we were chatting just for hours because she will have to say something, then interpret it, and then repeat. For
So where did you meet her? You met her in Miami or West Palm?
actually, the story is a pretty funny story. So we met through Tinder first, the dating app, and just because it was the beginning of COVID,
COVID love, huh?
yeah, it was a COVID love. So she ghosted me. So
Ah!
yeah, I'm a little bit
Oh.
bitchy in that one. So she ghosted me, and then 6 months later, like life keeps going. I moved to a different app. I jumped to Bumble because I was like, Tinder, you don't find good quality. I'm gonna go move into something else. I'm gonna go to Bumble. So a little
Can't
bit
wait till she watches
normal.
this one.
Yeah. So I start chatting. I matched with someone on Bumble. At that time, I was like, just like liking everything. I didn't care, not reading name, not seeing photos. It was like, as soon as we're gonna go deep, I don't care how you look. It's all about the real connection. So we're gonna start chatting, and then if you're interested, we connect. I'll see your photos. I'll learn your name, all that kind of stuff.
That is one way to look at that. Definitely tell you that's not the way I thought you were going to go with that one, but okay,
Yeah,
fair
I
enough.
mean that was my point of view at that time.
Yeah.
So we matched again on Bumble. Of course, at that time I didn't know. So we were chatting for also like 15 days, just chatting on Bumble back and forward.
Now,
Really,
did you guys know it was you both? Like you
no,
guys knew, or
no,
you didn't know you
no,
were each?
didn't know.
Oh,
So we were
interesting.
chatting for 15 days until we get to the point that we know we get really confident with each other, and we said like, okay, let's try to meet. And she said like, okay, there you have my phone number. So I copy her phone number. I go to my contact section. When I paste the phone number, her name pops up.
Ah,
And I was like, why? Why do I have this like phone number on my contact info, from my phone, from this like random person? So I ended up doing, I opened the chat, the text message from that phone number, and I started reading all the text message. I was like, I know who you are.
so wait, at this point, you guys are texting back and forth and
Yeah.
don't speak each other's language. So is that like
I was
Google
good. I
Translate?
was using Google Translate.
Okay, got it. Okay, I was
I
gonna
was smart.
say
I was like taking forever
ChatGPT
to
wasn't like a
reply,
thing
but
really then.
yeah, at that
Yeah,
time we didn't have any ChatGPT.
yeah,
Probably will sound a little bit more native using
yeah.
ChatGPT, but yeah, I was just using Google Translate, and it was good enough for her to understand.
It worked apparently. So
Really? So basically, when I discovered that it was her, I went back to the Bumble chat and I was like, I know who you are. You better show up this time. And she just starts just like laughing and she's like, I knew it was you. And she's like, basically, we need to meet up like right now. So we literally said like, it was like 4 p.m. She said, I'm getting out of work in like an hour. Let's meet up. And we met for the first time in Bradley Park and downtown West Palm Beach. I mean, close to West Palm Beach and Palm Beach and actually have a bracelet that her coworker gave it to us with exact coordinates where we met for the first time. So
Aw,
yeah, it was a cool story and it was fun.
that's awesome. So you guys are now, how long you been married for?
For 2 years, and we're getting to the 2 year mark and exactly 3 days, the
Wow,
17th.
but who's counting, my friend?
Yeah, yeah.
Now, did you get married in West Palm also,
Yeah,
or?
West Palm Beach in the courthouse. We did it pretty simple and very private. It was fun. Actually, like legally, if I'm not mistaken, legally it is the 27th. Because we made a mistake. That's something we didn't know. So basically, we made the decision on from one day to another one, and we said like we're getting married tomorrow. That's it. We're doing it. You know. So and the very next day, it was basically so the first day that we met, it is actually May 17th. So I wanted it to make that day the same day that we got married. So I proposed to her on the day previous to that, and so we can get married the next day. I'm very romantic myself. So maybe it's just to do not have to have 2 different days to remember.
Don't. I'm almost 10 years in. The date you guys meet doesn't even matter anymore.
Yeah,
It's the
it
wedding
doesn't even matter,
wedding
right?
date. Doesn't even matter.
But so we went to the courthouse, and there's like some sort of rule that you cannot get married in the same day that you made the decision. You need to take a course, so like wait or either wait for like 2 3 days,
Like a
something like
cool off period, I guess. It's like you're
yeah,
buying a gun or
yeah, yeah.
something.
Yeah, something like that. So yeah, so basically we were not able to get married that same day, the 17th. That it was the same day that we met for the first time. So I think it was just waited for a couple of days, and we got some a little bit busy, and we ended up doing it finally on the 27th, if I'm not mistaken. That's the legal date.
Got it.
But yeah,
Okay. So you've been happily married for 2 years now,
yeah.
going on 3 years. What about kiddos? Any of that in the future here, buddy?
In the future, I guess. I think
Yeah.
we both right now are very focused in our career. We're both doing really well. Having a business it's pretty tough, man. It's literally having 2 or 3 kids at the same time. Same thing to her. I mean, she's doing really well at her job and she's killing it. She got multiple promotions. Yeah, and at the same time, we have a house big enough. This is
Yeah.
not the place that we want to raise any kids. So I think we'll wait another 2 3 years probably. We'll see.
What's her name anyway? You haven't given her a shout
Brittany.
out yet. One more time?
Brittany.
Brittany.
Yeah.
Okay, there we go.
Yeah, it's
I
it's
was gonna
the
say you're gonna get yelled at if you don't at least give her a shout out.
yeah,
She'll be upset with you when
Brittany.
she watches this.
Yeah, of
All right,
course.
so Brittany's been putting up with you for 2 years, and
Yeah.
now you decided you came to the U.S. You were in Miami. You're finding love during COVID. When did you decide that you didn't want to work for anybody anymore, and you wanted to go from a ladder to a legacy?
I mean, I think that also happened by accident. So I was working for this small company, a local company. It was a print shop, and I was in charge of all the web design aspect of the marketing that they were offering. And I was like not very happy with the business model that they had in place. So they were looking for volume and not for quality. And I'm more of a guy of I like to focus on quality and the customer service and all the aspect from the business. So there were some disagreements, and then I had a client at the time that he put a lot of emphasis on me, saying like, "Dude, you're so smart. You're doing an amazing job. You need to quit." And I was like, "Dude, you're crazy. I'm not ready to quit." And he's like, "If you quit, I'll go with you. I'm gonna start working with you like instantly, right away."
Wow.
So yeah, so basically one day I had a really rough day at work, and I was like, "Fuck it, I'm doing it."
Nice.
I just jump out of it, and I called this client and I was like, "Hey, I did it." And he's like, "No way, you gotta be kidding me. I told you."
Where do I write the check to so that
Yeah,
I can afford to live here in West Palm Beach? By the way, it's expensive.
So like you know better, like keep up with the word and start working with me, kind of thing. And yeah, and I think it's just everything started working out. It's just I was just going with the flow, and thankfully I created a lot of really good connections when I was working there, and all these really good people started referring me to other people, and I started just getting clients and never stopped.
So tell me, Kendall Development, where did you get with the name, and tell me about the business? I mean, we haven't really talked about that yet. We've been busy
Yeah,
talking about your playboy self and getting married and during
I was a cool
COVID, and
dude.
you were.
I was playing the cool dude when I was living in Argentina for sure.
Okay, well, you're still the cool dude. That's all
Oh,
right. You
thank you.
got a Mini Cooper. Those who don't know, he's got a pretty awesome looking Italian job Mini Cooper. So tell me, what is Kendall Development, and what exactly do you do? So you run this business.
Yeah.
I have no idea what you do in it. I just know that you make magic on the internet happen so that people can find other people and their business. So what do you do?
So, I mean, the name of Kindle Development comes from a place of, I'm a SEO specialist. When I put the name, I was just thinking of SEO. And at that time, Kendall Jenner, the supermodel, she was like super famous and she was like all over the news and all that kind of stuff. So it was like, I really like that. I really like her. Sorry, my wife's just listening right now. I really like her. I think it's really attractive. She's hot. So, and I really like her name. And then, have to happen that we have this city down south near Miami. It's called Kendall as well. Not so cute though. I'm sorry for the people that lives in Kendall. And I was like, I'm gonna just use that name. Then eventually, if I don't like it, I'll just like change it on the future, whatever. And then development, because I was thinking of web development at that time. Fortunately, this is because I was like so foreign and at that time didn't even know the language when I put the name. I didn't know that development it also refers to construction, building houses and building. So the first couple of months of having my website online with that name, I started getting a lot of leads asking for developing some properties and homes. I was like, dude, I'm not a contractor. I'm just I develop a website. I do
That's
marketing.
awesome.
So that's basically what we do at Kendall Development. We do web design and SEO services. That's the only two things that we specialize. When I say website design, it's everything related to the website, from the user experience, the cute looking part of the site, to integrating, I don't know, e-commerce functionalities, invoice systems, blogging, booking services, like all type of functionalities, not just the design aspect of the site. It now we focus on the functionality of the site. We like to bring functionality to the site. And then SEO stands for search engine optimization, for those that don't know. And to keep it short and make it very simple, we just do a bunch of stuff, and also we add keywords to your website. So when someone is looking for, I don't know, realtor near me, or realtor or lawyer, West Palm Beach, your website is one of those websites that they pop up at the top. And you get the traffic and you get leads, and that's how it works. Very, very, very simplified.
So I guess you start this business. Did you so you quit your job? You
Yeah.
were like, hey, whatever,
Yeah.
I quit. And you were at the time you were engaged, or you were married, or not yet?
No, we were engaged. We were living together at that time. So I think
Did
that.
your fiance tell you you better get your ass back to work, or was she supportive?
No, I mean, like I
Kind of
say,
sense?
I'm a guy that I always project and I plan everything ahead of time. So I save enough money. So it's like I quit without having an exact day when I was going to quit, but I always knew that I wanted to quit. So I have enough savings for 3, 4 months or something like that to pay all my bills. And I was like, at that time, to be honest, I only needed to sell 2 websites a month to be able to cover my bills. It was like, for me, it was like, there is no way that I can now sell 2 websites a month. So that's what happened. It's just, I have that security of having those savings. And then I just told myself, there's no way that you can now sell 2 websites. And yeah.
So you started this journey of business ownership here in the US. You are, we'll call it the American dream. You are fulfilling it, or trying to, or nightmare if you listen to George Carlin. You are trying to fulfill this American dream. How's it been? Is it easy? Business ownership, right? Like walking a park, right? No
What
big
a
deal,
lie.
no sleepless nights. I mean,
It's I mean, of course I'm fulfilling it, and I'm living that dream of having my own business and growing it, and moving forward with it and making progress. But it's definitely not as easy as they put it on the movies. and or like all the stories that we have been told. It's definitely, at least on my own experience, no, it was not like that. I had
Yeah.
to learn, and I keep learning, and I keep working on myself through a lot of stuff that I didn't know that it needed in order to run a business. So
And what do you think has been the hardest struggle? So again, you worked in factories, you've done pharmaceuticals, you've done sales, you learned some coding, you're owning this business. Like, what was the hardest part about owning the business?
I think it personally comes to a lot of, on my own experience. Once again, I think it comes to personal stuff. I went through a lot of things on my past, like losing my parents, and also like moving to a different country, learning a new language. I think those were my biggest barriers for me. Unfortunately, when I recently started my business by my own, I was working with a type of clientele that I didn't like it because they were not able to pay me enough for the quality of services that I was putting out there. And then I realized that, yeah, I needed to move on of that market. And in order to move on out of that market, I needed to learn English, to be able to target the people that I wanted to work with. So it took me until like last year that I finally got to this point that I'm able to communicate fluently enough that you will, more or less understand what I'm trying to say. So you get the full message. It won't sound native or anything like that, but you understand what I'm trying to say. So I think I'm right now I'm just thriving. I feel that I'm thriving because I'm getting to talk to these people that I always wanted to work with, and they're understanding what I'm saying, and they're getting my message, and they're saying like, oh yeah, I want to work with you. You know what you're saying. You don't sound cute, but you look cute, and I think you know what you're saying. You know what you're doing. So we're gonna work with you, kind of thing.
So you start this business and you're full into it now. You're what now 2.5 years into it or so, or two
Yeah,
years
a little
into
bit
it?
longer, probably. Yeah.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
So you're into it for a couple of years now, which means you've had proof of concept. It works. You're doing it.
Yeah.
So I guess what have been the challenges growing the business? I know you said, obviously being conversationally with some challenges, moving, learning, we'll call it the cultural differences, I'm sure were, a challenge, but what was the hardest business thing that you've had to gone through? Is it capital? Is it learning how to do taxes? Is it learning how to hire employees? Like, what is the hardest thing from a business standpoint you've had to overcome?
I think it for me was a culture. I came with a mindset, with an Argentinian mindset, and an
What is
understand
that mindset? What kind of mindset is that?
pricing, the conversion of money. For me, when I moved here and for many years when I was doing business and selling my services, for me, $500 or $1,000, it was a lot of money. But then when you realize all the knowledge and the work that you're putting into building these sites and how long it took you to learn all those skills in order to put it together, it's like those websites, they're now worth of just $1,000. And for me, it was really hard to get out of that mindset that $1,000 it was not enough. That I
Yeah.
needed to charge more. Like I said, for me, I think most of my troubles they're personal troubles and my own personality, just because I had a totally different culture. That I was like, it took me a while to get rid of all those things. To like, no, dude, right now you're in a different market, and a website that you're building with the quality you're building it's worth of like 2,500 or something like that, over that price. So I think the pricing was a huge thing for me because I was scared because, you're working for yourself and, if you don't make sales, you don't get to pay your bills. So I'll say pricing and then probably finding good people to work with, when you start getting a good volume that we're getting right now of clientels and good projects and bigger projects, you need more hands on those projects, and finding
Yeah.
quality people, it's been tough. And I think that's part of, once again, my personality, that I'm really picky and I'm really into the details. So like working with me, it's not easy. And find the people that are working with me right now, it took me over 2 years and a half to find those people, and I went through probably 100 of them, trial and error. And so I think those
And do
two
you
are
think,
my biggest challenge.
and would you tell other business owners who think that they're difficult to work with? Because I mean, I'll be honest, I don't think it's a bad thing necessarily. You're an owner. You have a standard or a level that you want to provide to your customers. I don't think there's ever a problem with that. But what would you give advice to new business owners who are now starting to level up and get to a point where they need people to help them? They're not just an owner operator. What
Yeah.
would you say to them about hiring in this market? Because again, post COVID, world's changed, but it's not a generational thing. I think it's just
Yeah.
whatever happened has happened. But what would you give advice wise to them?
I think right now we're getting to a point that you definitely need some help to hire the right people. You cannot hire by yourself. I mean, you need to have a lot of experience to hire the right people by yourself because people lie. You interview someone and they'll do like they're really good at lying. And then, you hire them, they start working with you, they made a lot of promises and they told you they have experience here and there. And then when they put hands on work, it's like, dude, like they know crap. And when you realize that you're like literally 6 months in working with that person, so you wasted time, you wasted money, like mostly time.
Well, because you can't get that back. So,
Yeah.
you
Like I
know,
say, it took me literally 2 years and a half to find the web designer that's working with me right now. So like I'll say if you're able to afford to pay a company to find these people for you, do it. Or if you're able to take some sort of course to have some sort of guidance on how to hire people, I'll do that for sure.
do you have a lot of W-2 employees? You have people here? Do you prescribe to the virtual assistant theory or
No,
outsourcing? I
all
know
the
a lot of
people
people look at it differently.
Yeah, no, all the people they're working with me, they're contractors.
Okay.
That they're basically 1099s. Yeah, and unfortunately, I'm not to that point or to that level. Yeah, they have people working full time with me, and most of them, I'll say, they're overseas because that's it. That was my only way of being competitive.
Yeah.
Because I know that my quality is there, but if I need to do all the job by myself, I need to work with someone locally. I'll triple the price, and just because I don't have enough marketing out there people won't pay me 10K to build a website because they don't know me. So it makes it a little bit more tough. So
Well, I'll say this. I met with the CEO last night. We had about a 6 hour conversation.
yeah,
We were just sitting down talking shop. He runs a multi-state, a multi-million-dollar organization,
yeah,
home health care to be specific. And I'd asked him, we were talking about his employees, his employee count is, over 200 employees here in the US. And I said, so do you have virtual assistants? Like, do you prescribe to that? And he's like, prescribe to it. I have 25 in Cali, Colombia. I go, what? Wait, hold
yeah,
on. And he said to me, he's like, yeah, what I did was I physically opened my own location
yeah,
after doing a proof of concept and went down to Colombia and started an entire group down there of, VAs. And he's like, I'll be honest, they are 25 years ago what Americans were today. And
yeah,
I was like, can you provide me some more context on that? And he said, what I'm finding is that American dream, that push, that drive, the sense of urgency, it's gone. But
yeah.
when you go to Colombia, Venezuela,
It's still
Argentina,
there.
you go to Philippines, you go to parts of India and Pakistan, it's different. You have a different people who have different mindsets. Now, obviously there's some advantageous pricing reasons when you're fairly sourcing and making sure you're paying people the correct amount because you are a
Oh
good
yeah,
person.
totally.
You're doing the right thing.
Yeah.
It seems to be that the American worker of today is not a worker who works in the States anymore. And do you find that to be true using these contractors? Is that what you're seeing as well?
Yeah, I definitely see the same thing. It's quite difficult. The thing is, find someone. I think outside of the States, there is more people willing to try and to keep them all to one
Mhm.
job, and even if they don't know, they're willing to learn and to figure things out, and they'll do it. And I think there is some sort of barrier or mentality here in the US. It's like, no, you get to a certain point, and if you don't know what's next, you don't do it. You just simply don't do it.
Yeah.
And I think these people, they have a different mentality. They'll just try it out, which sometimes, it can cause some troubles and some conflict in certain process of a company. Because if someone that is not an expert gets involved in something that is critical, they can make mistakes.
But as an owner, would you rather somebody who is going to try than somebody who would sit back on their hands guessing and not trying to
Oh,
actually
no,
do any
definitely
work?
no.
But
No,
what is your
I'm
thought
going with the
process?
guy because it's my personality too. It's like if I
Yeah.
don't know something, I'll give it a try. I want to try it out. I
Yeah.
like to be
I mean,
proactive,
with
so
the
I like to work with people that are proactive.
I mean, between ChatGPT, Sesame,
Yeah.
Siamese, DeepSeek, I mean, there's so many other options right now in the artificial intelligence world to broaden your horizon. It's not just saying, hey, go on YouTube and learn a skill. You can have a AI system walk you through, or a chatbot walk you through almost any. I mean, you could ask it to perform a medical procedure. I mean,
Yep.
you shouldn't. I'm
It's
not telling
crazy.
anyone to do that.
Yeah, yeah, no,
But
of
I
course.
mean, you could literally, I had an issue with my car and I had them walk through diagnosing the car versus a mechanic looking at it. and it did better job than the mechanic did.
Oh yeah.
No offense to humans, but that's just the truth. And I'm trying to figure out now, like, I'm integrating AI into everything I'm doing. And I look at my employees and I say, it's not cheating. And that was
Yeah.
like at first what they were thinking. They're like, oh, is that cheating? Is that not being fair? And I said, no, if you're not using AI, you're cheating the company and you're cheating yourself.
Oh yeah.
Do
You're falling
you,
behind, dude. I'm sorry.
and do you prescribe to the same thing? So do you believe the same thing that AI is? So to me, and again, I had this conversation with the CEO last night,
Yeah.
AI to him is the industrial revolution of
It is.
today.
It is.
And if you're not on it, you are 2 steps behind and you're never going to catch up. So are you implementing the same procedures in your company
I
that
100% agree. Yeah, I think mostly for small businesses like us, AI is fundamental because we are able to make process faster. And it's like I think if people they have the wrong concept about AI. They still very afraid that they're gonna lose their jobs. Yeah, AI is taking over all their jobs, but it's generating new ones. Now it's like people specializing in prompt engineer. Like what the heck are you
yeah,
talking about? Prompt engineer. So
yeah,
like those things that were not there literally 2 years ago. So it's like some jobs are disappearing, but new ones are being created. And the thing is like, at least for now, this AI that we have in the palm of our hands, it still needs a lot of human input. So it's
yeah,
like you say, like maybe not for a medical procedure, you're not gonna be using AI because you can, like fuck some things up. But for other
death.
yeah, but yeah, basically. But for some other simple things, like I don't know, for some like for example, when we're creating our SEO campaigns, we use it for brainstorming because it makes it helps you to spark some ideas when you have some sort of lack of creativity one day or something like that. So it truly helps. We're not implementing it for some more critical stuff, like for example, like keyword research. For those type of stuff, it doesn't work as well as a human will do. But the thing is, like, if you're just experimenting with AI and you don't know, you're not an SEO expert and you want to try to do some SEO on your website, it's gonna work for you. It's gonna do I'll say like a decent job. It's gonna be better than nothing. That's what I'm trying to say. If you implement it. But if you're a serious, like SEO agency, definitely do not use it. It's not doing a great job.
That's interesting to hear, and I'm excited to hear that that's the case because I think that is really the future. It's the way things are going, and I don't think
Yeah.
we have a choice. I think this is you either get on board or your train is being left, or you're being left at the station. That train is moving on. I couldn't imagine life without it now. I'm using it, 300 times a day in conversations, in testing my platforms, campaigns, ads.
Oh
It's
yeah.
in everything we're doing on the insurance side. It's not as much on the dry cleaner, but on the insurance side we're trying to go minus policies because again we want to make sure we're cautious with obviously our customers, but we're pushing it as much as we can because I can't imagine agencies not using it, and there are so many that are not, and I just can't believe it. And I
I
and I
can't
guess it's
either.
great because you know what, they'll be left behind, and the people that are willing to be pioneers are going to find themselves a new forest to go chop a tree down in and go build this wonderful opportunity for themselves.
Yeah, but I think it's like you will say it with the industrial revolution. Some companies they fall and other companies they rise. And I think now we're gonna see exactly the same thing. People, small companies like us that we are implementing AI and AI processes, we're gonna rise. And other companies that maybe the same size like us or maybe some bigger than us, thinking that just
Yeah.
because they're bigger and they have bigger budgets and they can keep hiring people and they don't implement those things, they're gonna fall. Maybe not in 2 years because they're gonna have the human power for a few years, but as soon as the
Yeah.
things get a little bit better, third year, fourth year, you're gone.
Yeah.
You're gone.
And I think I think that's the next thing. I think there is something that will come out in the next 12 to 18 months that will revolutionize the way we're using AI. You already have Zapier, you have a lot of different
Yep.
opportunities to layer over data. And I
Yeah.
was talking about laying over data last night with this guy, and he was telling me how he's essentially taking a platform and he's taking his data just like Iron Mountain. Iron Mountain's a facility that houses sensitive documents and information for corporations, the government. I think it's like 30 or 40 feet underground in this granite mountain somewhere up in the northern North Carolina, Virginia, Pennsylvania area, somewhere up there. And essentially doing the same thing with his data, is warehousing it, whether it's with AWS or whatever insert company, and he's layering over AI on top of it. He's using that now to pull data and data streams of information off of it, and it's essentially revolutionized his opportunities. Now, again, bad data in, bad data out, right? Doesn't matter what you put in if it's not clean. But he's revolutioning his ability to his reporting structures. And being a finance geek myself, when it comes to reports and Excel sheets, I'm sad to hear that we're moving away from Excel. But at the same time, I see this as like you said, we're talking about this next revolution of how reporting will be provided to CEOs, to C-suite employees, to directors, to people who are decision makers. And it's super exciting. And like, what are you doing now? So you talked about SEOs, you talked about website development. Like, how are you, if you could recommend something out to the public, and obviously not giving away the secrets, but you can recommend one thing for them to do that can help them put them on the board, or at least start playing the game checkers, maybe not chess. Like, what can they do today to help them move forward?
Interesting question, because I think it depends of who is listening to these podcasts. Because I mean, I can give advice for a small business, for someone that is just building their brand new website. I can also give advice to someone that have a company with I don't know 30, 40 employees.
Let's
And
go with the small business people, because those people with big corporations, they don't
yeah,
need any special things.
yeah, probably have a whole team. So I'll say for the small business owner, what we see the more often, they come really worried to us and try to build like something really cute in terms of website, something really good looking, and they're so worried about the visuals that they're not they know anything about the functionality. And I think that's a key point. So once again, because no one told them that in order to run a business you need systems, because when you have systems in place, you start automating your process, and the more fast you deliver a X process, the more customers you get. And to try to be more clear, or to try to bring an example to the table, like for example, our websites, they have an invoice system integrated to it. So that's like mind blowing for small businesses, because they can have a professional invoice system that they can create a quote, and then when the quote it is accepted, that quote automatically gets transformed into an invoice and gets sent to the customer, and the customer, they can pay it online, instead of them being on the phone, taking the debit card, and having the risk of their information being stolen, or anything like that, or like processing the wrong payment or whatever. So I'll say, like, start trying to, whenever you try to hire someone to do your web design, start asking for those things, because they're becoming more common than you think. It's like most of the website now, they come with those tools. The problem is, like, the people that are designing the website, they're website designers. So they know about design, but they don't know about functionality. So they don't know how to use those tools, and they don't even offer it to their clients. So I'll say, yeah, start asking for those things. They're included most of the time on your website and the back end of your website, and they just need a little bit of setup, and you have a huge advantage against your competitors. They're maybe at the same level like you, and even like bigger companies.
Nice. I mean, I think that's helpful. It's insightful.
Yeah.
I could imagine. So, I mean, you're providing all this wonderful insight to
Yeah.
these small business owners, obviously. But I guess the real question, and it's a question I like to ask all the people who come up on this podcast,
Yeah.
because I
Here.
enjoy it. Oh, you're scared?
Yeah.
I would be
Here I am.
too. Don't worry. Leo was scared too when I asked
Okay.
him. So, which the podcast hasn't dropped yet. Hopefully, I think Friday we'll be dropping the full one. If you could meet anybody in the world, dead or alive, doesn't matter who it is, any person, and ask them one question, who would it be? And what would that one question be?
Dude, that's a really deep one. That's a really deep one. I think he had that person for a few months on my head, in the past couple of months, but I think he ended up like solving it. Whatever issue I had at that time. I don't know, man. It's a really tough one, because, like, I'll tell you what, I'm not gonna bring up anyone from the tech industry or marketing industry that doesn't call me. I think
Be anybody, dead or alive, doesn't matter who they are, and you get one question you get to ask them.
I think it was like I don't know. It's a really tough one. I think it probably will be like something. I think that I admire. I don't know. No, I'm not really good at names. So, but I think it's like someone that I admire a lot. It's the singer Dua Lipa.
Okay.
I think it's just the personality that she has. It's something that it really intrigues me. How these people, they get that really strong personality on scene. And I think I'll just ask them what job they went through in order to get there, to be able to express themselves in the way that they do, or to look authentic. I think that's the real question. Personally, I'm still working through myself to get out that really authenticity out of myself.
Well, I think you're doing just a fine job, my friend.
Well, thank
I
you.
don't think
Yeah, I think, I mean, I think I'm doing a great job too. I think
you're doing a great job.
I always I like more. I was like, I want more. It's like how it can be more. It's
There's
just,
nothing wrong with wanting more. I always say it's we call it in my world esoterica. So you are seeking a balance, my friend,
yeah,
for one side and the other, and there's nothing wrong with that. And I appreciate you taking the time coming on with me.
first, thank you
I
for
don't want
having
to
me.
keep it too long, but it's been very insightful. The man who came from Argentina on his skateboard and built a website design company and not a development company, just so everybody knows. Want
Yeah,
to make sure we put that out there. He's not developing houses. We have another person
no,
who does
not
that,
yet.
though. But not yet.
That's
You
Leo. No,
see?
no, that's
Wanting
Leo.
more.
We're not gonna get into Leo's business right now.
Gosh, so you're gonna start jumping up, Leo. You got competition, my friend. Sounds like we got we have another designer and builder here coming out soon. So,
No,
all right,
no,
buddy. Well,
no.
good
We're
seeing
gonna
you.
speak to
Well, it was good seeing you, man. I appreciate you taking the time
you too.
coming on. If you need anything else from me, let me know, and
Okay.
we will catch up hopefully Thursday.
Perfect. Talk to you soon, man. Take care, and
Talk to
thank
you
you
soon.
so much for having me. It was a pleasure.
Thanks, buddy.